Eurogold is driven by being the best civil engineering contractor in the Northwest, ensuring its clients are given the highest level of service that they deserve. Eurogold work in a wide range of industry sectors, including house building, highways, commercial and industrial build.
La Vita is an award-winning, independently run Italian restaurant. Located on Rose Lane in the heart of Liverpool, real Italian-style dishes, using the best ingredients, skillfully prepared by our chefs. Come and try our serious Italian experience.
Supreme Upholstery Limited is a manufacturer of quality bespoke upholstered furniture. Come along with your ideas for that perfect sofa to fit your home and let Supreme bring your ideas to fruition. We also offer a service to the contract market, including large hotel groups and small family-run business. No matter how large or how small your order, you will always get that personal service from our sales team. Come along and visit our showroom.
Hello everyone and a very warm welcome. Coming up on the show this week, we'll be chatting to Chantelle Padden, who gave a fantastic singing performance on the TV show The Voice a few weeks ago. But first up, over the last 12 months, a lot of people have been concerned about attending their hospital appointments. Well, on the show this week, we'll be chatting to consultant and Dr. Gerald Collins about some of the problems people could be experiencing and may need some medical advice. So, Jerry, a lot of people suffer with the problem of going to the toilet. What causes this problem?
Well, good to talk to you, Martin, first of all. I think mainly people going too often is mainly a symptom that affects males. The classic problem is a thing called benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. And that is a condition where the prostate gland gradually enlarges as you get older. And for various reasons, it starts enlarging from about the 40s onwards. And this enlargement affects the majority of men. It doesn't necessarily cause symptoms in all these men, but the enlargement occurs in the majority. Now, because of the location of the prostate, it's situated underneath the bladder and the tube called the urethra goes through it. If it enlarges in a certain way, it can compress that tube called the urethra and affect bladder emptying. And if the bladder is irritated by being unable to empty freely, it tends to react by overacting. So as a result, the patient is going more but probably passing less. So going more during the day, and the most disturbing symptom really would be having to get up during the night. Because as we all know, if your night's sleep is disturbed, you're not the same the next day. Some of these patients would have to get up 3, 4, 5 times a night. So clearly their following day is not good. And that is the classic prostate symptom.
Now, urinary tract infections, how does that affect us?
Again, a very common problem, tends to affect females more than males. Classic symptom is, of course, burning passing urine, an odour off the urine. And again, because the bladder is irritated, the bladder tries to compensate by overacting. So people have to go a lot more, again, during the day and during the night. Again, very easily treated as a rule. There are certain underlying conditions in females, particularly postmenopausally, that can be treated as well because they are contributory factors. But these, again, usually can be treated with medication and not surgery. The important thing about that is when you get a bladder infection, then it's not unusual for the patient to pass blood as well. And usually the reason they pass blood is because the bladder is very inflamed and bleeds easily. But it's very important not to ignore that particular symptom, because it is a serious symptom and it can actually represent something a lot more sinister. So just because somebody is getting an infection and passing blood repeatedly, that should be investigated, because in patients with bladder cancer, almost half bladder cancers are infected anyhow, and they're causing the infection. So passing blood in the urine, yes, you must seek medical attention. And the reason I'm stressing that is a lot of patients, and we know this sadly, but a lot of patients ignore it. And that's one symptom you can't ignore.
This can often relate to problems with our bladder and kidney. Now, what symptoms should we look out for?
Okay, I mean, the obvious prostate symptoms are going a lot, getting up at night, weak stream, having to stand there waiting for it to start, having excessive dribbling when you finish, that type of thing. There is one key symptom that does happen in some patients who have a level of obstruction whereby they're chronically not emptying their bladder, and the bladder begins to put back pressure on the kidneys, and that's quite a serious condition because the kidney function is affected. And they tend to get one classic symptom, and that is bedwetting. So they're prone to having episodes of bedwetting while they're asleep. So if somebody has that symptom, they need urgent medical attention.
So Jerry, what are the telltale signs of prostate cancer?
The answer to that is there are no telltale signs of prostate cancer unless it's very advanced. So the majority of patients with even clinically significant prostate cancer, if it's reasonably early, will not have any symptoms necessarily.
How dangerous is prostate cancer?
Well, it depends on the type. I mean, firstly, the majority of men as they get older will get prostate cancer cells in the prostate. And for the majority of those men, those cells won't actually cause them any problems. However, there are a subset of men who will get prostate cancer, the disease, and that is a serious condition that does need to be diagnosed and treated.
How can it be treated?
Well, it depends, obviously. It depends on how early it's diagnosed. Very early prostate cancers, we often just keep a close eye on the patient to see whether they're developing or not, so that they only get treated when they need treatment rather than at the start. So you might have a patient who's been watched for a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and then because things have changed, we recommend treatment. So they have the treatment at the right time in that situation. You've other men that we're watching that we end up watching forever because they never get any worse, and that's good, obviously. Patients who have what we consider a significant early prostate cancer, there are 2 treatments that we use. They are totally different treatments, and they are both equally successful. And we would be expecting to cure the problem with either treatment. One is surgery, where we remove the prostate, and that's done keyhole surgery robotically, and patients usually spend just 1 night in hospital. So really the recovery and the convalescence is really very, very minimal. They would have a catheter for maybe 10 days afterwards. The other treatment is radiotherapy, and that's given in a couple of different ways. It can be done by just shining x-rays at the prostate, or putting radioactive implants into the prostate, or indeed a combination of the 2. And again, that would often just involve one general anaesthetic and maybe 1 night in hospital. They are, as I say, both equally successful, but very different treatments, and they've got different types of side effects. There are some specific side effects of surgery because of the anatomy of that area and the proximity of certain nerves that can affect erectile function and rarely continence. The side effects of radiotherapy are irritation to the bladder and bowel because they are in the target zone, if you want, and that would happen while you're having treatment. Some patients then get that irritation persists, and in some patients can persist for a long time. It's very unpredictable. Some patients are absolutely fine, others can get lots of problems for a long time. And the only other thing to bear in mind of radiotherapy, there is a small risk of getting a secondary cancer development from the radiation, for example, in bladder or bowel. So if they have radiotherapy and they develop symptoms 2 or 3 years later to do with bladder or bowel, then they should, of course, be investigated.
So, Jerry, what's the success rate or the recovery rate?
Well, the success rate depends on the characteristics of the tumour. But as I say, these early tumours confined within the prostate, we would expect to cure with either treatment. So, you're talking success rate maybe around 80%.
what age are we more likely to have symptoms?
You won't have symptoms, that's the point. But I mean, the patients we diagnose usually will be in their 60s and 70s with early prostate cancer.
How do we know? What can we look out for that there's something wrong with our prostate?
Well, in the absence of symptoms, there is a blood test called PSA, which a lot of people will be familiar with. And that is a very good marker. It's a simple blood test. The PSA has been around for about 30 years now, I would say. Before PSA was, let's say, discovered or whatever, 80% of people diagnosed with prostate cancer had advanced disease. And since the PSA era, that figure's totally turned on its head, and now 80% of people diagnosed have early disease. So that's a huge plus, if you want. So a PSA test, generally we tend to recommend patients have an annual PSA from their 50s onwards.
So is the first step for people to go and see their GP?
Absolutely.
And would they need to ask for a PSA, or would the GP normally recommend it?
Well, that varies considerably. It is a slightly controversial blood test because some people feel it should be used as a screening tool. Other people feel it's not accurate enough for that. I mean, like any test, it has false negatives and false positives. But overall, it's a very useful blood test. But in primary care, there are a lot of primary care practitioners who are reticent to use it. I think they're anxious that they may have to interpret a result that they're not comfortable doing. But that's where we come in. We'll interpret the result. The primary care people don't have to. So I would like to think the majority would be more than happy to do a PSA as part. They often do annual bloods in patients anyhow. And yeah, no question, a PSA should be part of that. That's my personal opinion anyhow.
Is drinking water good for your prostate?
I'm under the impression that people in Western society as a rule tend not to hydrate adequately anyhow. You know, for example, if you're driving from Stockport to Manchester, would you have a drink in the car with you? Well, now I actually would, but most people I ask wouldn't. So I think people generally underhydrate in this part of the world. And hydration in terms of infections is very important, because if your urine is too concentrated, then you're increasing your risk of infection, because there's often bugs in the urine. You only get a urinary infection when the bugs multiply to a critical mass whereby they can overwhelm the immune system and cause the infection. So if your urine is dilute, then the bugs are inevitably less concentrated. So yes, hydration, very important.
Jerry, it's been lovely speaking to you today. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, and thank you for all your great help and support to people sitting at home watching this programme tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Martin. Delighted as always.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry, for joining us on the show. And if anyone out there is concerned about any of the things we discussed on tonight's show, please contact your GP. Now we're going to take a little break, and we'll see you very soon.
Eurogold is driven by being the best civil engineering contractor in the Northwest, ensuring its clients are given the highest level of service that they deserve. Eurogold work in a wide range of industry sectors, including house building, highways, commercial and industrial build.
La Vita is an award-winning, independently run Italian restaurant. Located on Rose Lane in the heart of Liverpool, real Italian-style dishes, using the best ingredients, skillfully prepared by our chefs. Come and try our serious Italian experience.
Supreme Upholstery Limited is a manufacturer of quality bespoke upholstered furniture. Come along with your ideas for that perfect sofa to fit your home, and let Supreme bring your ideas to fruition. We also offer a service to the contract market, including large hotel groups and small family-run business. No matter how large or how small your order, you will always get that personal service from our sales team. Come along and visit our showroom.
Welcome back. Now, a few weeks ago, Chantelle Padden from Belmullet in County Mayo performed on the TV show The Voice. She sung her heart out and the judges were delighted with her performance. Here's Chantelle's story.
It was absolutely very surreal, very scary, but I was delighted that I could bring a little bit of joy to the Irish nation and of course Belmullet and Mayo, because it was definitely an exciting experience. So it's great to see all the support. It's been an amazing experience so far.
Tell me a little bit about your the influence that your granddad's had on your music. Of course, I know he's been there at your side as you were growing up.
Well, I guess Granddad is the reason why I'm singing today. You know, he's the one that encouraged me to, you know, I suppose take it seriously as I got older and to actually work on my craft and try and, I suppose, improve all the time. He's the one that really, he was always the musical one around me. So he was my first biggest influence, and it's thanks to him, all the years of hard work, teaching me all he knew about music. I grew a love for it, and it's all I've ever known, to be honest. It's all I live, eat, breathe music, and it's kind of, he's the one that started me off on this road. I was very, very lucky that because Granddad was a musician and he gigged around so much, I started gigging with him when I was 7 years old. And thanks to that and the amazing feedback we used to get of people coming to listen to us, I think we were the only grandfather-granddaughter duo in Ireland at the time, and maybe even the UK. And I guess just all the exposure I got from gigging around with him, I got the opportunity to go into a little local studio to record just a self-released little album with some cover songs on it of some of my favorite country songs at the time. So thanks to my mom and dad, they funded the CD for me, and I got played then on all the local country radio stations like Midwest Radio. And it's been a crazy journey over the years.
And of course you made history at the age of 12 by playing at the Galtymore in front of thousands of people in London.
That was actually another moment that will stick in my mind forever. I got the opportunity to go over and perform in the Galtymore twice actually, but the first time I performed there, I think I was 11, but I think the second time I was 12, and I remember being on Opry Daniel O'Donnell's show on TG Carr, not so long ago actually. It was last year it was aired, and he brought it up during our interview where his sister Margot O'Donnell, which I'm sure all your lovely viewers will be well familiar with Margot, she held the record of being the youngest singer to ever perform in the Galtymore in Cricklewood in London, and she was 14 at the time, or so he says. And I was actually only 11 the first time I got to sing there, so I broke Margot's record. Not many people can say that. I'm still kind of like, what? It's very crazy, because I heard so much about the Galtymore growing up, and you know, everyone who was anyone in the music scene loved to get on that stage. It was kind of like our Grand Ole Opry, you know, it was our version. All the Irish country musicians that played there, you know, from Big Tom to Joe Dole, and loads of people performed there. It was unbelievable.
And then of course you kind of fell out of love, if you want to say, with music for a little while.
As I came out of my younger years into my teens, I was having, you know, your teenage crisis where there wasn't much opportunities coming in for me music wise, so I was a bit lost for a few years. I gained some weight, looked very different, kind of lost hope, and stopped believing in myself. That was the worst thing that happened. I guess because I was no longer a child artist and I was too young to be classed as an adult, so I was kind of stuck in between two rocks, and it was a few, you know, awkward years. It was tough pill to swallow. It was kind of like, what's going to happen next? Have I any chance of, you know, continuing getting to do what I love doing and the only thing I knew doing, which was singing? And, you know, had I any hope of pursuing my dream career and, you know, making a name for myself as, you know, a successful female country artist on the Irish country scene? So unfortunately, because nothing was happening, and I lost the motivation to push myself even more, to try and crack the scene. And I guess it wasn't until I got older, when I think it was 2018, I still was gigging on the weekends, like throughout this time, even though I longed for more. I respect anyone that goes out and does pub gigs, because that's what I grew up to, and I learned so much from doing it. And it takes courage to do that, no more than getting on any stage. But I always longed for the next level, and I always, I wanted to see where my limit lied. And as the years went on, I was a bit lost and unsure. But in 2018, a very good friend of mine, Johnny Brady, who I'm sure your viewers will definitely know of as well. He is one of my ultimate favorites, one of my favorite voices ever, to be honest with you. He took the plunge of bringing me on Glortira as his contestant after he heard me singing at a local festival, which happens annually during the summertime, the Inver Festival. And I was the warm-up act, along with one of my best friends, Sean Fahey, who actually gigged with me for years when my granddad retired when I was in TY in secondary school. So Sean really was a big part in keeping me going as well. And thanks to him, I wouldn't have had the courage to gig on my own when my granddad retired. So Sean Fahey played a major role in the reason why I'm still singing today. I could have easily given up when granddad retired, because I didn't want to go out and do it on my own. I didn't want to gig on my own. I felt like it wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't be good enough. And so thanks to Sean, he kept the flame lit and kept me going. And people liked what we did. He brought a new kind of element to my set list, because he encouraged me to take on different genres. And I think that's when I kind of started branching out a bit more.
Tell me what it was like appearing on The Voice.
Yeah, it kept me on my toes, definitely. I was kind of, I suppose, trying to prove that, country can be really current and commercial and deserves a place on a show like The Voice UK, because we don't see a lot of country on these kind of talent shows, which are on TV now. So I was very, very hesitant in the very beginning to go for it. But I'm glad now, looking back on it, that I did, because, I've reached the televised stages, and whatever comes next is a bonus, because the fact that I got to sing in front of Sir Tom Jones, will.i.am, Ollie Murs and Anne-Marie, and millions of people at home that watch the show, that's just experience and exposure money cannot buy. So I'm absolutely over the moon I've made it this far, but all I can do is try my best to keep the flag flying for Mayo and Ireland, and of course all the country fans. It's, amazing the people that I get to meet and work with along this journey. So a lot of people that you wouldn't see aired on the TV show itself is the people behind the scenes. So all the producers, the Voice UK team, everyone that works so hard behind the scenes to make it work and, brings the show together, like the hair and styling team. So because we all have to be careful now with social distancing and everything throughout our time on the show, working behind the scenes, it's amazing they made it work. We were all boxed off in our own little section, and it was all very COVID friendly to keep us all safe and everyone around us safe. So the hair and styling team were on standby to advise us from a safe distance on if we needed to fix our hair or if we needed to top up our makeup. I had the likes of Gail Rinkoff helping me with my styling choices, who has styled the likes of Nadine Coyle and Carrie Underwood, who was one of my absolute idols. So the fact that I got to work with someone who has worked with complete superstars is unbelievable. And then you've got the likes of Craig Chapman, who was head of the hair department, who has worked with so many TV shows, continues to work with so many TV shows in the UK. And, he's worked with any celeb who's, everyone who's anyone. He has worked with them all. He has worked with their hair. And these people were treating me as if I was a celeb, the way that they were so nice to me, and they really took my ideas on board on how I wanted to look and, come across on TV. I kind of went for a very subtle kind of toned down look. So I just wore my hair like this really, and I wore just a denim outfit and little cowboy boots. I was fairly kind of casual on the show when I appeared on it. I didn't want to try and be something I'm not. I'm actually a bit of a tomboy at heart, so I can't walk in heels that great, so I opted for the safe option. I wore flats. But yeah, like the overall experience, I've so many highlights so far, and I'm really looking forward to what comes next. Hopefully the show itself will open some doors for this Belmullet girl. I've worked hard for a very long time to try and get an opportunity like this, and to try and get onto a platform like this to be heard by so many people. So it's really been a massive highlight in my career so far, and hopefully, there'll be a lot more doors to open with exciting opportunities, which hopefully may come from this. Fingers crossed.
Good dream to me, just like kaleidoscope colors that cover me. All I need, every breath that I breathe. Don't you know you're
It was great to chat to Chantelle, and of course we're all looking forward to performing on The Voice in the next few weeks. And of course we wish her the very best of luck. Now, if you've got a story to tell us, contact me, martinloganmanchester@gmail.com. Don't forget, Henry McGlade is coming up next Thursday evening at 7 o'clock with his show from County Mayo, and we're here as usual with the Irish in the UK at 7:30. Until then, take care of yourselves.